What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another video / podcast of the Dynasty Dweeps. Today, Jim and I are going to be covering the Buffalo Bills and the Miami Dolphins fantasy outlook. How are you doing today?
Doing well. Had a great day today.
That's awesome to hear.
Positive days.
Positivity all around.
Always.
Hope you all enjoyed the New York Jets video. Not much there to watch, probably, but
Jameson Crowder, baby.
All right, so we're going to start with the Buffalo Bills today. Let's go ahead and start with the quarterback, the GOAT, the God, Josh Allen.
Gunslinger.
Played 16 games last year, 271 completions off of 461 attempts, 58% completion rating, throw for 3,089 yards, averaging 6.7 yards completion. Longest is a 53, 20 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, and was sacked 38 times. Oof.
Just had 14 fumbles.
Did he? I'm not on the rushing yet. Calm down.
I mean, it's all part of his stats.
All right. What do you think about Josh Allen's passing stats?
I mean, he had a good year. I mean, he finishes the number 6 QB and barely over 3,000 yards and 20 passing touchdowns. The 9 rushing touchdowns along with 500 yards helps a lot. He also kept his interceptions down. He only had 9. Previously, he had 12 in 12 games as a rookie. I mean, obviously, you want more passing touchdowns. 20 touchdowns isn't significant. But the fact is he got it done and ended up being a mid-tier QB1 with these numbers, with what most people would say is a pretty average offense at best last year.
Yeah, I believe that
if anything below average.
I believe that Stefon Diggs will definitely uptick this touchdown, passing touchdowns for sure.
I just think having another core guy that he's John Brown and Cole Beasley being basically your number 1 and 2 targets last year isn't anything to talk about.
Well,
having Diggs in this team helps so much.
Let's just cover his rushing real quick as well, just to get him out of the way. 109 attempts, 510 yards, averaging 4.7 yards per carry, and had 9 touchdowns, which is great. Yep. That's 29 touchdowns. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you want. So, I mean, I just drafted him in the league that we're in right now. I think he's a top 5 dynasty quarterback for sure.
If he pans out, I mean, I think there's still a lot of people who aren't necessarily sold on him, but I think he hasn't had the weapons that other.
I'm really sold on him for a fantasy perspective. Like, maybe you're not sold on him like as a quarterback in the league, like to be elite, but I'm like sold on him as someone that could produce fantasy numbers due to his gunslinging mentality and running the ball.
Oh yeah, he can definitely put up some nice points. I mean, then there's certain games where last year he kind of had some duds, but that wasn't very common. I mean, the worst game he had was against New England, and maybe that won't happen this year because they're not as well. Maybe it will.
They'll split. He'll probably have like a bad game one game, and then he'll just torch him another.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, you can't complain. Like 20 touchdowns for passing isn't a lot. It's not a great year, but with the rushing element that he brings, because he is a pretty athletic guy, it kind of allows for some more room, and he's shown to be pretty versatile.
He just hasn't had any good receivers. Like John Brown's he's like good, but he's not elite.
No, he's not.
I'm not saying Stefon Diggs is elite. I don't even know if Stefon Diggs will beat out John Brown this year on the team. He might not surpass John Brown in receiving yards. I don't know that. Like,
that's an interesting one, actually. Wow.
John Brown played very well last year.
He did. Finished as the number 20 in PPR.
Granted, he's 30 years old. I mean, that's not that old. He can play in the league still.
Mm-hmm. It was the first time he broke 1,000 yards receiving since 2015 in Arizona.
Yeah. So I think it's going to be interesting. I think that people are a little too high on Stephon Diggs. I think this is more of a 1A, 1B case scenario because Stephon Diggs has never even had to be the focal point of an offense. It was Adam Thielen. Well, hold on. Okay, I'm not going to get too far into Stephon Diggs because we're going to get to him later on anyways. So
Mm-hmm.
let's get onto the rushing aspect of this team. Devin Singletary played 12 games last year. He had an injury. 151 attempts, 775 yards, averaging 5 yards a carry,
Mm-hmm.
and he had 2 touchdowns.
2 rushing, 2 receiving.
Yep, 2 receiving. He had, for his receiving work, he had 29 receptions off of 41 targets, 194 yards. So his averages for his receiving and his rushing are very, very great.
I don't love that he gets under. He has less yards per catch than per carry. I don't love that. Yeah, he has. Oh wait, never mind. I'm looking at the wrong. It's 6.69 per catch and 5.13 per carry. My bad.
Yeah, I think that like no one's questioning his talent. It's just the worry of Zach Moss.
Yeah, I think with them drafting Zach Moss, it kind of just Buffalo doesn't believe in him to be a workhorse kind of guy.
Yeah.
I mean, last year we couldn't really see him try it either because Frank Gore and him taking up a bunch of volume. So I mean, I see this being a similar situation to where both these guys get a bunch of carries and it's going to be like similar to a Broncos with Lindsey and Melvin Gordon both getting a bunch of reps. Maybe Rojo and Keyshawn Vaughn is another similar situation where you see these guys both getting near that like 160, 170 attempts each, give or take. Maybe one has a little bit less.
I love Singletary. It's just I won't pay the ADP right now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's worth the bang for your buck here, man. It's just I think Zach Moss is going to get the short. Like when push comes to shove, Zach Moss is going to get the short yardage touchdowns. Singletary is going to be the guy out of the backfield, third down, and then they alternate first and second downs. I mean, that's not a guarantee.
They don't have a big back per se. I mean, they're big. Yeldon 6'1", 220.
I was going to ask you what you think if Yeldon is ever going to get in there at all and take any work.
I mean,
probably
he's
not.
Definitely a third option. I mean, he'll get some touches occasionally, but nothing that's significant to where he's mentioned fantasy wise.
So you got Singletary as like a low RB2 right now?
I don't know. I think he's going to be a flex play.
Damn.
So another problem he had, I mean, he could have an uptick, of course. I think something that could help his value out a lot is him only having 2 rushing touchdowns and 2 receiving touchdowns. If he can get more of those goal lines and be a guy who breaks a couple more touchdowns, he can easily be moved into a low end RB2. Well, not low end. I think he's almost RB2 category. He's not like he'd be like that 25th place ish if you're doing a 12 team.
The big problem is also Josh Allen getting all those rushing touchdowns.
That's definitely something to think about. Yeah,
that really hurts him. I don't think he's stopping that anytime soon.
No.
You know? I definitely don't think he's going to stop that anytime soon. He's so young. He's going to keep doing it.
Yeah.
So that's the question, right? Like, how many touchdowns is Josh Allen going to get? How many is Zach Moss going to get?
Mm-hmm. Zach Moss had a pretty phenomenal senior year at Utah. I mean,
what do you think about Zach Moss? Like, do you think that he's going to be the same value like RB3?
Yeah, I don't see him being. I don't know who. I mean, see, the thing is, Singletary's already there, and he has the value there. But then the new face coming in, and it's not like Singletary's exactly a hot, proven commodity. But like it's his second year in the league now. So I mean, Moss could end up edging him out this year.
That's what I'm saying. I think it comes down to whoever plays better, really. I think that's what they're looking to see.
I think it's going to be a pretty 50-50 split. Maybe one edges out the other by like 20 carries, honestly.
And if that's the take, then I'm going to wait and take Zach Moss later in the draft. Especially from a
Yeah.
redraft perspective, I'm not paying for Singletary. I'm going to wait for Zach Moss.
Mm-hmm. That's fair.
I think that's what people need to realize, that you're paying way too much for a guy that's probably going to be 50-50 split, and he's looking to probably lose the goal line carries, I think. That's not guaranteed, but
yeah, but it's probably Moss going to be picking him up.
yeah.
Short
All
yardage
right.
and goal line.
I'm not talking about anyone else on this team that's a running back. Let's move on to the receivers. John Brown played 15 games last year, 72 receptions off 115 targets. He had 1,060-yard season, averaging 14.7 yards per catch, 6 touchdowns. Longest reception was for 53 yards. Beautiful.
Yeah, he had a great year. Really undervalued receiver. I think the only thing that kind of inhibits him is his age, being 30 years old already. And people don't really want to really be investing in a guy who's on the wrong side of 30.
I agree 100%. From a dynasty perspective, he's not very valuable, but I think in redraft,
Yeah, in redraft,
he is
a lot
a
of value.
great take.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to get
God.
him late. It's going to be awesome, and I think you're going to
Yeah.
find some great value in John Brown.
Yeah, he's a great guy. He ends up being a flex on your team every time.
Awesome. Yeah.
And then it's just a great plug and play flex player.
100%.
I mean,
And
and
then,
if he is your wide receiver too, then you must have been stacking running backs pretty hard, man.
Yeah. So, do you want to talk about? I guess we'll talk about Cole Beasley real quick.
Okay. And leave Diggs for last.
Yeah. 15 games, 67 receptions, 106 yards. 106 of 106 targets, 770 yards, 6 touchdowns as well. He's kind of like a deeper, like, let's not talk dynasty, but redraft. Like, if you're in a super deep league, sure, I guess.
Flexible.
I guess how deep are we talking, right?
Yeah. I think it's hard to say, because this is something you always argue when guys add, like, a team that has weaker receivers and they add a like pure number one guy to their team, and you can basically say, well, it opens the field up for these other players more. But I don't know if that necessarily helps Cole Beasley, because I feel like he's never been like the guy on his team anyway, and he's never shown to be more than a flex player at best in his career, being with Dallas for so long.
Yeah, so let's just not talk about Diggs for 1 second. The guy only had 9 less targets than John Brown, which is kind of crazy.
And 5 less receptions.
Yeah,
but
a lot less yards. He's like the short guy.
Like almost 200.
So PPR, this guy did fine. I don't know what his exact rank was. I don't know if he grew the ranks pulled
34.
up. So a wide receiver 3. Not terrible. Yep. But he'll definitely regress with Stephon Diggs. I would just avoid him completely then, pretty much.
He's also 31, and there's just, if you're going to pick up another guy from this team not named Stephon Diggs, it's going to be John Brown at receiver.
100%.
You're not really trying to target Beasley.
Let's talk about Dawson Knox, and then we'll do Diggs.
Okay.
So he was a rookie last year, right?
Yep.
Okay, that's what I thought. 15 games played, 28 receptions off of 50 targets, 388 yards, 2 touchdowns. Nothing crazy. I like his dynasty value.
You don't really see much out of rookie tight ends anyway. Mm-hmm. He didn't have anything special. He basically averages a little less than 2 catches a game. Yeah. It's less than 2 a game, which isn't great, but sure, you could see those numbers go up with time.
Late round flyer.
Yeah, he finished tight end 32 in PPR, so he's a stash guy in Dynasty. He could see pan out and maybe become a more usable option.
The last tight end that was good for the Bills was like Charles Clay, and he wasn't even good. That was a long time ago, I think.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's do it. Let's talk about Stephon, the hype beast of this team. Okay. Stephon Diggs. Great player, but I see I want to bring up a new term. It's called Juju syndrome. So
All
Juju
right.
syndrome is when a player decides he is shadowed, but he is behind a wide receiver one, and then when he steps up to be a wide receiver one, he doesn't pan out. But I mean, okay, Juju syndrome's a little overwhelmed because Big Ben was
There's a
hurt. Big Ben was
yeah.
hurt.
There's
There's a
more than
lot of thing that goes into that, but I just like to use this term. I think it's a good term for
okay.
now. So
Alrighty.
Stephon Diggs, Adam Thielen was the 100%. That was established last year by Kirk Cousins. He decided that Adam Thielen was going to be the one, and Diggs was going to be the two. Do you think he can be a one?
Absolutely. I mean, look at what he did in Minnesota the last 2 years, still being that second guy. I mean, in 2018, he had 102 receptions with 150 targets, 1,021 yards, 9 touchdowns. Great year. Finished top 10 in PPR. Then he had 94 targets, 63 receptions last year, so he lost a lot of volume there. There was a lot of kind of beef going on in that locker room, obviously.
For sure.
But he had 1,130 yards. He only had 6 touchdowns, and he also had 4 fumbles, which didn't help him. So I think Diggs is definitely going to be targeted more than he was last year. So there's no reason why he can't be. I don't think he's going to get that 100 mark again, but I don't see why he wouldn't be pushing closer to 80.
Yeah, a good argument also is that the Vikings are very a team that establishes the run, right?
Yeah, with Dalvin
So
Cook,
right,
absolutely.
so
Yeah.
maybe this team, I don't know if they're gonna have less or more rushing attempts. I don't think they're gonna have more than the Vikings, but I would think that Stefan's gonna get more opportunities.
The only thing that could kind of prove this kind of shitty situation for Diggs is that Josh Allen hasn't he is a gunslinger, but he hasn't been a very accurate gunslinger so far in his career.
That's true.
So
58%
maybe
completion rating last year.
maybe an inability to really throw the ball accurately downfield could lead to some more locker room
Drama?
disputes, but yeah, some more drama in this offense.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. So, what do you think? Like, he's going to be
But I
like,
still think, I mean, there's no doubt Josh Allen can become a better passer. There's no doubt I think they're going to be getting Diggs the ball, and that'll at least they'll be trying to get him the ball, which will keep him he won't be a disgruntled player on this team. I think
yeah,
he comes in with a way better attitude, and it's going to work out for him, I feel like. But there's still kind of some possibilities that it does flop here.
yeah. And what do you think about him? Like, is he high end wide receiver too, or just kind of like middle of the pack for you right now?
I want to see. I can't put him that high yet because of Josh Allen's kind of not. He's not consistent yet. Is basically the best way to put it.
Yeah, I agree. I'm gonna put a middle of the pack wide receiver too right now. And for Dynasty, I like it a lot. I think he's 26 years old right now. I think that he has a lot of room to grow as a player. And I think as long as he keeps a clear mind and stays positive, that he can really him and Josh Allen can build a great rapport. And eventually John Brown is not going to be with this team. And Stephon Diggs is going to be the show in Buffalo.
Absolutely. And Ray McLeod.
God.
I love these guys with some funny names. Oh my god.
He was he returned a couple punts. I remember that for this team. Let's go on to the Fins. Anything else for the Bills?
No, that should be basically it for the Buffalo Bills.
All right, Fins. So there's a lot of players that aren't on this roster that we need to discuss.
Miami Dolphins. So
well, we can completely disregard the quarterbacks, I believe.
You don't want to go over Fitzpatrick and Tua and Josh Rosen.
I don't need. Do they keep Josh Rosen?
I think he's still on the team.
He is. Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not going to talk about Fitzpatrick because I pretty sure the goal is to get Rosen ASAP or in the first game. I hope so. I think that redraft value is completely not worth talking about unless you're in a super deep league. There's no point of taking Tua in a redraft. You agree with that?
And he could be a late round, like if you have a really solid, like say you're in a redraft one quarterback, normal stuff. I mean, Tua could end up lighting it up.
Right. If you want to take it like
him.
that, you could probably get him in the last round, unless you got some diehard fans in there. I agree with that.
So I mean, you could get a really nice QB1 early.
Yeah, I don't want to say like you saw what happened with Lamar because I don't think he's got the same talent per se. But
it's so different. Yeah.
But from dynasty perspective, I like him, but I don't like it as much as Joe Burrow.
Mm-hmm.
Do you agree with that?
Yeah.
Are you going after him at all in dynasty or?
I'm not really a big fan of a lot of the quarterbacks from this class, honestly. I think Tua's got, the injury concerns, and I'd rather have Burrow over him or even possibly Justin Herbert.
I mean, I like what he's surrounded by on this team, though.
I like what the Dolphins are trying to do. I just don't know if they're there yet.
I don't know. I think there's a lot of potential here. A lot for the Fins.
I think they have a bunch of really average guys right now that haven't made that jump yet.
How dare you say that?
I mean, for running back, at least. The receivers have more potential.
Tua finishes QB2 this year.
Okay. So.
Do you agree? Top 20?
Yeah. Sure.
Top 20. 15?
No.
So 15 to 20?
Maybe.
Why can't he finish out of that? Why is that so crazy?
Because I just don't know. It's not even a guarantee that he does get the start. They could have Fitzpatrick lead for a little bit just to let him kind of ease into the NFL.
I'd be very upset if that happens.
Yeah, I understand that. A bunch of Dolphins fans would be too because they spent a lot of money on jerseys.
All right. Let's get into the running backs that aren't on the roster on ESPN. Okay, Jordan Howard.
Brady and Howard.
Yeah, so let's do Jordan Howard first. Jordan Howard was, excuse my French, pussy last year and had a stinger for like 6 or 7 games, I believe, right?
Yeah, it hurts.
And it happened in practice. So not to take anything away from the man, but I hope his shoulder's okay now.
Jordan Howard has been kind of falling off track here. I mean, he's declined every year since his rookie year.
Okay, but listen, I really like him from a redraft perspective. Dynasty, sure. Like if you want a guy that can play on your roster, like he is a guy that can. And I think that he's going to be a guy that he needs a touchdown to have a good game, 100%. And I like his redraft value a lot.
I think they have a really nice pair of Brady and Jordan Howard. But if I had to pick one, I think that Jordan Howard's going to be the guy to get more touches.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think this is going to be an even split like how the Bills are going to split their. I think this could be like more of a 60-40, 65-35.
Yeah, you've never seen Brady be more than that. It's really always been there's the guy and then Brady's change of pace. I mean, he does a great job at that. He's freaking lightning fast. Dude's insane. So I think Brady is going to have the higher ceiling like every single game, you could say, because he's just so much more versatile than Howard. But I think Howard's going to get the goal line carries.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
So I think that itself just poses so much value.
I mean, if we see the Jordan Howard of his rookie year where he had 1,300 rushing yards, he could be something.
What do you think? I mean, is he an RB2 to you? I could see him finishing in the top 20.
Let's take a look at his last 2 years. So in Chicago, he had a pretty rough year in 2018, his last year, where he only averaged 3.74 yards per carry on 250 attempts. So it was just a down year. He had 9 touchdowns, though. That's great. So and then obviously the injury is what kind of kept him so low. So I think he's a very undervalued player right now. And yeah, I don't see why he couldn't be in the RB2 discussion. More of a low end RB2. I don't see him being top 15. I think he'd be closer to that 20 to 24 range. But he could always prove me wrong. I'm sure
What's his age?
He's 25. I mean, he's still young, but
any idea what the contract was?
I'm
gonna look it up real quick. Because being 25, I'd assume it's at least a two-year deal with the Dolphins. So I like his value in both dynasty and redraft. I think that he's going to be in the NFL for a couple more years for sure, more than two.
Yeah, I think redraft is definitely a great idea. Like that's where you can get the best value for him. Because dynasty, it's always up in the air. But he's a late round guy who can definitely put up great numbers and be a good flex play. Similarly to John Brown.
When you got so many rounds in dynasty, I mean, is it going to hurt having a guy on your team that's supposed to get the goal line carries?
Absolutely not.
Shit, man. Okay, so let's do Brady. Injuries have pretty much haunted him for his whole career.
I mean, he hasn't missed that many games. He missed 2 games in 2018. Right? He missed 2 games in 2018 and 3 in 2019.
Okay, well, I'm mistaken. But I remember him being out for longer.
Okay, well, that's okay. Now I'm really confused, actually. On Sleeper, it says he played 13 games, but here, I mean, maybe, I don't know. It says basically he missed 5 games. He missed week 4, he didn't play. Week 11 through 13, he didn't, and then week 16. So I don't know what. Okay. So missed 5 games. 5 games.
Regardless, the guy's a very versatile player. He's going to be the change of pace back on this team. I think he poses flex value. Still a good player to have on your team, I think.
He hasn't had the touchdowns, though, which is something that kind of concerns you if he's not getting all the volume. So, like, unless he is getting – and his touchdowns aren't – he's had 6 rushing touchdowns over 3 years and then 4 passing touchdowns. So, it's not like he's very often getting touchdowns. So, for him to have these games where he's actually worth playing are pretty rare. You know what I mean? Like, you have to just get – the right game.
Right. Like you can picture it clearly in your mind. Matt Brady comes in like on the 60-yard line and he breaks off like a huge rush and you're on the goal line and Jordan Howard comes in and takes a touchdown.
Yeah.
It's that's the problem. I agree. So I'm going to say he has some flex value for sure.
Some good old flex appeal,
I don't think he belongs on the waiver wire at all. I think he belongs on rosters.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And you never know when you have a guy who's like Jordan Howard, who was a guy who's supposed to get a bunch of touches. Could he end up picking up a nagging injury like he did last year? And then Brady becomes.
Oh, God. I don't know if Brady can be a three-down back.
I don't know. I mean, maybe they give it to like Balaj at that point or something. Who knows?
I'm not watching the Dolphins if Kalen Balaj is on the field. I promise you.
Kalen Balaj.
I promise, Jim. I will not watch. I won't watch I'd rather see Patrick Laird. I hope he's still on the team.
No, it's Balaj season.
Okay, let's get into the receivers. I only want to talk about Gesicki, Williams, and Parker. Let's start with Parker. Dude had a beast of a season. Played 16 games. Okay, before I say anything, the schedule was easy as shit. So get over yourselves, okay? Just get over it. It's not going to happen again. 16 games played this year, 72 receptions off 128 targets, 1,200 yards, averaging 6.7 yards per reception, 9 touchdowns. Dude was a beast. But like I said, the schedule was easy. Towards the end of the season, I remember every single fantasy analysis pointing it out. It was clear what was going to happen. People were targeting him when they started approaching that.
Yeah, also something you can kind of look at previously through his whole career. The 9 touchdowns is definitely an anomaly for him.
Yes.
I mean, in 2018, he missed 5 games. He missed 3 games in 2017, where the 2 previous years he only had 1 touchdown, then 4, then 3 as a rookie. So is he going to have – I mean, he's the guy on this team now. So maybe that won't be a huge regression and he'll stay at like at least 6 to 7 or maybe even more. Because who's going to be the guy to catch all these touchdowns from whoever their quarterback ends up being? Is Preston Williams going to end up being the guy? Is it Gesicki?
And the thing was, dude, Parker wasn't even competing with anyone for volume. Like Preston Williams tore his ACL last year. That was the injury, right? Tore his ACL, and then after that, it was
just
a
knee, I think, or
it was just
ACL, yeah.
It was just the Parker show, like.
Yeah, and that was something that people kind of Parker didn't really start lighting up until Preston Williams got hurt, which is really weird.
I have them both downgraded with Tua. I like Fitzpatrick as a fantasy quarterback. Like,
he can shit out points for sure.
Yeah, so I don't know. It'll be interesting. I think it's going to be very different this year. I still have Parker as a lower endish wide receiver 2 with a lot of upside.
I don't see him being a wide receiver 1 again.
But I'm not willing to pay the price of what he's being drafted at right now.
Mm-hmm.
But he's 27.
He's still got years on him.
He's got good value. I'm way more excited about Preston Williams. I understand that. Okay, let's talk about Preston Williams. So he played 8 games, half the season, 32 receptions. So he was on pace for a good year.
Yeah.
Off of 60 targets, 428 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Dude was on pace.
If he ends up playing, if you basically just give him double what he had.
Exactly.
He's at 850 yards. Maybe he gets to those 6 touchdowns, and he ends up being a nice low-end 2 to 3
rookie
option.
Season, too. It's great.
Yeah.
We can't guarantee he's going to duplicate his first half. But, the schedule did get easier the second half, so I'm going to give it to him.
Yeah, so.
But I love his value. You're going to have to pay. But actually, are you going to have to pay in redraft a lot?
No, not at all.
So
I think there's a lot of people, especially if you play with some guys who aren't exactly
aware,
really die hard, like paying attention to these guys. They're gonna be like, I don't even know who Preston Williams is.
Oh yeah, they'll look at Parker's stats. They're like, oh my god, you see this guy last year? Look at Parker. Look at Devontae Parker.
There's gonna be a bunch of guys. Especially like the first year players that kind of had sleeper kind of S seasons. If you're playing in a league with a bunch of guys who aren't super knowledgeable or studying these guys, you're gonna find a bunch of late steals.
100%. And I love Preston Williams, like dynasty, dude. You gotta have him. If you can get him, you got for a good spot, man. Gotta get him.
He's a big guy, 6'5".
That's what I'm saying, dude. I like the weapons. Parker, Williams, Jordan Howard, Brady.
You even have Allen Hurns.
Okay,
but he's just a third.
We're not talking about him.
Hey, come on.
All right. Icky Gesicki. What you say about him? People be sleeping on my boy. 16 games played, 51 receptions, off of 89 targets, 570 yards, 5 touchdowns, and he did have some terrible drops this year. I'm not gonna lie. There's probably a drop compilation. What do you think about him?
He had a good year. I don't know how much.
Penn State prospect, man.
I just, it's so hard for tight ends to actually, like, this might be his, like, he could have this exact season again next year, and I wouldn't be surprised. Like, give or take that many yards.
Yeah, I'm not gonna apply the whole tight ends are like the security blanket for rookie quarterbacks here. He's just not established enough.
I don't know, because like there's certain, like Kelsey, Kittle, those guys put up hella points at tight end.
Yeah. I
just don't know if he's going to be a guy who's putting up consistently like a 10-point game and getting you like, he had 109.5 total fantasy points last year.
What spot did he finish?
11 in standard, 12 PPR.
He's top 10 this year. Book it. 100%.
It's hard. It's just hard because not a giant distinguishable, like, you have the elite tight ends. I won't go into them. And all these guys are in like a middle tier together, and one could just have one breakout game and shine above the rest. It's so hard
Dude,
to kind
5
of place these tight
touchdowns.
ends.
5.
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah.
Okay, I will be fair. I don't know what the volume is for him when Williams and Parker are both on the field.
Mm-hmm.
So that changes a lot. Also, didn't this team okay, we need to talk about something because I think they were last ranked in rushing attempts. I'm gonna look that up real quick.
Well, considering what they had on their team last year, I would not be surprised.
That's what I'm saying, and they were playing behind like every single game.
Yeah, they definitely didn't start out well. I remember them losing a lot of games.
Yeah, yep, I was right. Miami averaged 21.8 attempts per game. To put that in perspective, the Ravens were number 1 with 36 attempts per game. So,
two completely different teams.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is now we have 2 running backs that can play football. Kalen Ballage isn't on the field anymore. All right, he's off. He's gone. So what changes here? A lot.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying they're not going to be playing from behind a lot of the games because I still don't think they're like the best team in the NFL, really. But they're going to want to run the ball more, right? Especially when you have a rookie quarterback.
Yeah, I think Jordan Howard's going to have. If I had to pick the best fantasy player for this team, I mean, I think Jordan
Howard.
I think I can say Jordan Howard here. I mean, I don't
from like redrafters, like just for this year.
Yeah, for a redraft, not down the line, because Jordan Howard, I mean, he might just have a 2-year stay here and then gone and used wherever else.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I could somewhat agree with that. I mean, I think
Devontae Parker and Jordan Howard will kind of finish in similar positions for their position, if that makes sense.
They'll be around Parker finishes in front of Williams?
Yeah. I still think he's going to be the number 1 guy.
All right.
I mean, he had 128 targets. Then again, Preston Williams had 60 in 8 games. Double it, he's at the 120. Who knows?
I don't know. I just know watching this team, whoever's running the ball was just terrible to watch. I just can't. It's just. I think they got a lot going on this year. They got a good coach, Brian Flores.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to make it happen. I think they're going to break. Now they'll go even. They're going even this year.
8-8?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Why not? I need to look at the schedule.
They could do it.
I'm telling you,
they could do it. They could do it. Yeah.
And that's with Tua, not Fitzpatrick.
Wow.
Tua's getting it done, boy.
Wow.
Did I miss anyone? That's everyone, right?
Yeah.
All right. Couple would you rathers. I'm not doing any for the Bills, but let's do some for the Dolphins. Would you rather have in a redraft league Jordan Howard or Marlon Mack?
Jordan Howard.
Said this Jordan Howard or carry on?
Jordan Howard.
Jordan Howard or Le'Veon Bell?
Le'Veon.
Jordan Howard or Kareem Hunt? About time I got you. Jeez, it was.
I think Kareem Hunt is just so safe to play.
I think Jordan Howard's pretty safe regarding injury.
Yeah, he is, but PPR, okay. That's where I'll get you. PPR, take Kareem Hunt. If it's
all right,
not PPR, Jordan Howard.
Then a couple for Parker, and then I'll do some Tua, and then we're done for the day. Devontae Parker or Tyler Boyd for a redraft?
Parker.
All right. For Dynasty, Devontae Parker or Mike Williams?
Parker.
Yeah. All right, moving on to Tua. Tua or Sam Darnold?
In Dynasty
Yes.
or
Dynasty.
uh, hmm.
I'm taking the upside. My personal opinion. I'm going to go for Tua. I think that he could end up being a much
I
better
haven't
fantasy
liked what I've
prospect.
seen. Yeah, I haven't liked what I've seen out of Darnold, and I don't know if the Jets are ever going to get it together.
Tua or Drew Lock?
Give me Drew Lock, dude. I hope he has such a breakout year with all these weapons he's surrounded with now.
You'd hope so, right?
I hope so.
Tua or Danny Dimes?
I'm not a big believer in Daniel Jones, so I'll
So
take
you're
Tua.
gonna pick Tua?
Yeah, I'm not a big Daniel Jones guy.
Jeez, man. I don't know about that.
I mean, it is what it is. I'm just not. There's certain people I just don't really like and care for.
Tua or Derek Carr?
I mean, Derek Carr's pretty consistent. You know what you're getting out of him. But I mean, dynasty wise, I'd rather have Tua because you're going to have much more upside potential.
All right, last one. Dynasty, Tua or Gardner Minshew? They both got a lot of
Tua.
swag, so you can't even give me the
I
Minshew swag take.
I mean, I think Tua would be around in the league more than Gardner Minshew. Gardner Minshew's got a lot to prove this year, with not a lot besides. Well, I mean, they drafted Laviska Shenault and they have Chark, and I mean, they have a pretty decent offense overall if you think.
Tua or Jalen Hurts?
Tua.
I'm trolling.
Yeah, you are.
All right, that's it for the day. Thank you all for watching. Like and subscribe. We got a special video coming out on for Friday. You're not going to want to miss it.
See you, dweebs.